All right, it's Saturday. It is about 9:20, and I'm standing on my front porch ready to start the virtual COVID-19 fund run to benefit Finger Lakes Running Company. This is something that means something to me because my friend Ian owns the shop. My son works there, and I'm really happy to see the community coming together and doing a benefit run like this while we're all kind of virtually locked down. So we're going to get started. I'm going to take you on a little tour of Trumansburg. It's where I was born, it's where I grew up, and it's where I raised my family. And we're going to also take 2 trips down to the lake level, one down to Frontenac Point, which there's a story, and one down to Gannett Point, where there's other stories. Before I get started, I'll give you a close-up of my bib. My daughter made it. These are custom bibs, one of a kind. And let's run. So I'm a couple miles into the run at this point. I spent a lot of that time thinking about Ian and his store. When we first moved here 17 years ago, Amy and I walked into his location. At the time it was on State Street. And I remember we were scoping out our first pair of shoes. And he had all of his running bibs lining the walls. And I can directly tie back to that moment as the reason why we have plastered our home gym walls with our running bibs from over the years. So he's had several locations since then. Now he's in a pretty sweet spot near Purity. And I don't know, from the races he runs to his community involvement and to being a great employer. So this run's for you, Ian. Coming up on Main Street now on this beautiful day. Gonna give a shout out to some local businesses that we love. You know, Trumansburg Liquor, essential business. Hazelnut Kitchen, really good food for special occasions or any occasion. They're doing takeout. Little Venice is doing brisk takeout. We got pizza and wings there recently. And we're gonna run down the street here and check out Walk This Way, which is also doing brisk business. Every single run I go on, I pass the smell of Chinese food. And we've got Main Street Market, which took over the Good to Go space recently. And then beyond that, we're really missing our Gimme Coffee and Creekside Cafe. Yeah, so here's the Gimme window. Amy and I used to come here on the weekends, pre-pandemic, enjoy a latte and some treats. And we'll enjoy seeing them when they're back open. In the meantime, you can get Gimme Coffee to go on State Street in Ithaca. We're a little bummed out that New York Pizza is not doing any takeout during the pandemic. But in good times, getting a pizza to go and going next door to Garrett's pretty much fits the bill for the evening. Before I head down to Frontenac Point, we're gonna do a little flyby of my childhood home. So that's where I was raised, still live in the same town with my parents, and we were lucky to have Amy's parents move here too, so we're all together. All right, here we are. We're about 3.5 in, and we're coming up on a new favor for us. The last few years, we've subscribed to the Apple CSA from Black Diamond Farm. That is the same farm that brings you delicious Black Diamond cider. So good, and a really nice sign of fall. Those apple trees in the background just getting ready for all that fall goodness. It's one of the reasons I love living in the country. Just a few minutes from your house and you can be out here. Here I am at my first lake stop of the day. This is Frontenac Point, which is on the property of Camp Barton, Boy Scout camp. I spent a lot of summers here as a kid and some winter camping trips too, but I was a counselor here for the summer, for a few summers. And it looks like they're doing some work on their arch. So I can't tell you exactly what cabin because time has faded that memory, but when I was here as a counselor during the summers, I stayed in one of these cabins. I was, needless to say, not a popular kid among the other counselors. I remember a few things about that summer. One is I read Stephen King's It, which was just such a comfort to an introvert in the dark. And the second thing was I woke up, came back one afternoon to a dead fish on my pillow, which was a really fun prank that had no effect on me whatsoever. Good times. Okay, little trip down memory lane complete. We're gonna walk up the other access road here and gain a little elevation before we head south to Teganic Park. As I do a little power hiking up this seasonal road, because man, it's steep, I don't want to leave you the impression that Barton was all bad for me, because it wasn't. I actually learned a lot of cool stuff. I learned to water ski. I learned to sail. I learned how to make a life preserver out of my pants. You know, pretty useful stuff. Learned to tie knots, learned how to camp, and made some good friends. As I cross the intersection of Cayuga View and Route 89, I'm going to show you my very favorite part of the Cayuga Lake Triathlon course. On the return of the bike ride, this is where the state police block off the road and everything southbound is closed. That is the sweetest stretch of road in this area when it is fully closed and available for biking anywhere in the lane. It's fantastic and a great way to conclude the bike part of the course. All right, we're back down close to the lake. I'm at the Teganic Park campground and I'm about to head into civilization, as it were. I just saw a bunch of people heading down the trail in front of me, so I'm gonna buff up. We're gonna see if I go into certain parts of the park or not, depending on how many cars are down here. But we'll make up the mileage. So at the moment, I'm running across the lawn at Teganic's South Point. In the summertime, they have a pretty great concert series. I think for this summer, that might be out. Well, I don't think there's any word on that. But I want to show you the waterfront. One of my most favorite days of the year is the Cayuga Lake Triathlon. I talked about biking earlier on the road. And the waterfront is where the day starts off with trepidation, because I don't really enjoy the swim unless the water looks like it does today. It is placid and beautiful. And what a day that day usually is. I can also show you a pretty great view of what is now called the Inn at Teganic, but when I grew up it was called Teganic Farms Inn. And I worked there as a teenager, as a college student, working my way up from washing dishes to cooking in the kitchen to waiting tables. And I worked for Keith and Nancy LeGrand. It was a really great job, and I got a chance to work with a lot of really cool people as well. And there we are, Teganic Falls. There's not too many people on the trail, but I kept my buff on. Not too bad to run with a buff. So we're just over 10 miles into the run, about an hour and a half. Time to have some sustenance. Well, that was delicious. So, funny thing is, I signed up to be a Honey Stinger ambassador this year. Not getting a ton of stuff out of that because there's no races, but I'm doing my best to stay fit. So, Honey Stinger waffles, good stuff mid-run. All right, I'm at the back entrance of the Trumansburg Fairgrounds. Just finished one of the last climbs of my run. We're sitting here at about 13.6 miles. And when I was a kid, I used to go to the fair a lot with my grandparents. My grandfather was on the fair board. So I don't know if the fair will be here this summer. I know Grassroots won't be. This is the rearrangements to Grassroots. And since this is the main way we get to our house, it gets a little congested, but it's great for running. 15 miles. I just arrived at the campus of Trumansburg Central School, and I'm running by the maintenance building, which has a place in my past. When I used to work at Teganic Farms Inn in the night, during the day, I worked on the maintenance crew at school. So that is where I learned to paint and appreciate classic rock. I tell you, if I didn't have 3 miles left in me, I would be stopping at Not My Dad's Ice Cream. It's a nice hot day, and maybe that's in my future. Anyway, I'm going by Mike's Auto Repair here in Trumansburg. Mike Adams is a fantastic guy. He's a straight shooter, and we do most of our car work through him. So if you ever need anything, call up Mike. Here I am on Cayuga Street, and these two houses, the yellow house and the white house, are a little trip down memory lane. The yellow house was my daycare provider when I was in grade school, Aunt Marge. And my friend Billy and I got in plenty of trouble in that red barn behind there throwing rocks. Ironically, many years later, we would rent the apartment in this White House as we waited to move into our current home. So my last shout out of the day to a local business is going to be Atlas. Atlas used to be, when I grew up, a PNC grocery store, and we really enjoyed going there for tachos and beer and all kinds of good stuff. So very sad that it's closed and they're not doing takeout, but we should be with them hopefully soon. And there we are, just north of 19 miles. And wow, what a run. It's a beautiful day, and it's amazing what having an intentional run, how that changes things. Like I set out with a list of places that I wanted to hit and things I wanted to say about each one. And you know, the time just ticked by. It's probably the fastest 3 hours of running I've had as far as perceived time expended. Anyway, like I said at the beginning, this goes out to Ian. This goes out to all the small business owners who are trying their best to get through this time. Thinking about all of you and wishing you all the best. We'll see you on the other side. Have a great day.